and we've created an artwork called Operation Crayweed Artwork Site, and it's an artwork that is basically highlighting a really interesting, important and good news story for the environment that was initiated by scientists from the University of New South Wales and the Sydney Institute of Marine Science. So we've created an artwork that's 1/2 kilometre long. It's made out of various components, and it is basically to highlight the otherwise invisible work that the scientists are doing underwater.
So the artwork we're presenting for Sculpture by the Sea is a collaborative work between myself, Chrissy Townsend, Uncle Chicka Madden and Teresa Gay. These sort of projects have this amazing ability to bring mob together, create stories and build new memories together. So it's really important for us as a community to keep these projects and the spirit of these projects alive.
So the idea is that we reflect the horizon and create 360-degree sea around you. Being an architect's studio, we always make buildings and spaces that people interact with. This is also the inspiration here, to make something that people can share and be a part of. The experience will change during the day based on how the sun is and like how many people is here.
Good architecture comes from the same place as good sculpture, and what I mean by that is that both of them have a really strong conceptual underpinning, and that gets realised through materiality and sight and form. With architecture, you know, you're pinned down by all the reality of realising that through form and function, but with sculpture you're free to sort of pursue that idea without sort of having to make it functional. So it's a really beautiful and pure approach.
我这次参展的作品叫做《行》，是一件可以说它是离开，而且这个作品的这个摆放的位置呢，正好是面向东南，北京是在西北，它是正好是从北京来到了悉尼，来到了邦迪海岸。
我这次参展的作品名字叫“崖”，崖在汉语的翻译中有很多意思，有水边的意思，有岸的意思，还有界限的意思。所以说，我的作品，放在一个环境里边，我觉得想表达一个人与自然的一种关系。来到悉尼是第一次。
My name is Georgina Humphries. I'm a public artist from Melbourne. It's artwork that I designed specifically for this spot on the Bondi coastal wall. It's completely made from recycled materials. So all tent fabric that's left over from festivals that I have been attending over the past few years. A lot of people leave their tents behind, so I decided to collect all the fabric up, start cutting it up and repiecing it together. So probably for the last 5 years or so, I've been kind of patchworking this tent material together.
This work actually does have quite a significant historical significance. It's a memorial to the charge of Beersheba, and it was a real charge of desperation. It was unusual for the Australian light horse to battle from their horses. The sculpture depicts 8 horses in full charge, full gallop, and I wanted you to feel what it would be like to be in the place of the Turkish trenches, being confronted with 800 horses charging towards you.
It's a large-scale installation art piece, so people can walk through it and around it when it's finished. It's a work based on some contemplation I did around sea level rises, which affects a lot of us who live by the coast and affects me personally at home. Throughout the world, there's this continuing rise of sea levels, and it's going to affect a lot more people than us.
So I'm very happy to be part of this show. It really includes so many terrific works and great artists from all over the world. It's just wonderful to see the interaction with the children and the ability for them to talk to all of these artists that come from all around the world and local and in fact right in Bondi. So it's just a real pleasure for me.
Doing artwork or visual artwork in particular, it sometimes seems like you're struggling to have significance, especially when you exhibit in a place like Bondi Beach or Cottesloe Beach. It's such a beautiful environment that any object that can compete with the landscape and add to it it's a pretty challenging thing to do.
In the past we used to have wonderful drawing rooms with original portraits of people that we'd have on our walls, talking back in the 18th century, so not we, but and now we have these massive TVs on the walls and look at ourselves. So the piece actually frames the viewer. I wanted something that was very interactive with people. I didn't want them just to walk past and go, that's a sculpture. I wanted them to be able to walk around it, in it somehow. So that was the starting point for the concept.
I studied art in Iran in the late 60s and then in 1973 migrated to Australia. And I also went and studied tertiary level art in South Australian School of Art. I have chosen 7 different sites and I am weaving some Persian carpets into the existing benches. In this particular situation, one is attempting to interweave and become part of the other. In a sense, it's the way we are as migrants in this country and new Australians trying to find our way of conversing with this landscape.
I create works and sculptures that are inspired by nature, particularly the small unseen things that we are often too busy in our day-to-day worlds to appreciate. It's taken so far 4 days to complete, but we've probably got another day's work in it. It is actually the first time I've done an installation. It's a new challenge. It's also a very different way of working than to bring a sculpture into site that's completed already. You are driven by time, you're driven by the limitations of weather and the site, and you can't pre-plan anything. You just turn up with a concept and have to work with the landscape. So that's really exciting and challenged me in a whole new way.
When an artist chooses to make works for the outdoors, your audience is everybody. The gallery is the world, and the work simply has to live in that world and interact within it. And of course, the viewers become part of that as well.